So far we've discussed the two ways in which transfer of heat takes place. Conduction process involves transfer of heat among two objects when they are in contact with each other. In the case of convection process, the transfer of heat is due to the movement in fluids. The heated fluid rises up and the cooler one sinks down. These movements in fluids create the convection currents. These convection currents transfer the heat energy through the fluids. Is there any other way in which heat can be transferred? Let's go through the following example. What happens when you place your hand near the fire? Before we proceed to understand this example, please note that you shouldn't try any of this at home. Never play with fire. Okay, let's come back to our example now. What happens when we place our hands near the fire? Yes, we tend to feel warm. So can we say that there is a transfer of heat taking place from the fire towards your hand? Yes, absolutely. There is transfer of heat taking place here, which is the reason why the hands can feel the heat of the fire. Is this a case of conduction? Think about it. As there is no physical contact between the fire and the hands, this cannot be the case of conduction. Is the flow of heat energy taking place due to the convection currents? This part is a bit tricky. We know that in case of convection currents, the movements of fluids is in the up and down directions, and that's how heat gets transferred. As the fire heats up the air, the warm air starts rising upwards, and the cool air from the surroundings will come down and come in contact with the fire. And this gives rise to the circular movements in air. These convection currents carry heat energy along with them, and hence if we keep our hands above the fire, we can feel the hot air rising from it. This is convection, yes. But how do we feel the heat in the other direction of the fire as well? This is because any hot object can radiate heat. And the heat from the hot object travels in the form of electromagnetic waves. Is this a form of heat transfer? Yes, the transfer of heat from a hot object in the form of electromagnetic waves is called as radiation. This means the transfer of heat takes place even if there is no direct contact between the objects. Can you think of any other example of radiation? Let's consider the transfer of heat that takes place between the sun and the earth. How does heat travel from the sun to the earth? Are they in direct contact with each other? No, there is no direct contact between the sun and the earth. The heat from the sun travels through the space and reaches the earth's atmosphere. As we know, there's vacuum in space. The heat from the sun can pass through the vacuum only in the form of electromagnetic waves. That's how it's said. The sun radiates the heat to the earth. This process of heat transfer through an object in the form of electromagnetic waves is called as radiation. This is an interesting fact to note. Radiation requires no medium to travel from one source to another. However, conduction and convection process involve substances as a medium for the transfer of heat. Here's one image that summarizes all three processes of heat transfer for you. This is conduction as there's contact. This is convection as there's movement in the fluid. And this is radiation as we just saw in the video.